right, back again with worksheet topic 1, worksheet number 2. This is still decimals, but this is the second worksheet that you should be working on. So again, we start with some place values, and I'm just going to write my place values up here. 100. Okay, and then remember on the other side of my decimal point, we get that THS to tell us that it's part of 10, part of 100, part of 1,000. And remember, this one means it's part of 100 things and then part of 1,000 things. All right, so if I line my numbers up with the decimals in the same place, we are seeing that that 2 is going to be in the tens place, right? Because it would be 2, 5 decimal. All right, and if I line up my next number, I'm going to see that that 6 is going to be in the thousandths place with the THS at the end. All right, that 1 will be in the tens, the very first digit after the decimal. Remember, I talked about that it can't be the ones place because it's out of that. And if I have 5 in that place, let's say, 5 out of 1 would be the whole number 5, but the things after the decimal are not whole numbers, so we can't start with the ones place. We have to start with the tenth place. And then our last one is right in front of the decimal. Right in front of the decimal, I have the ones. All right, let's do some subtraction. So in number 5, I like to line mine up, so I'm going to line them up. But this time, instead of adding, I'm going to subtract. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put my decimals straight down. I'm going to do the hundredths place first. So 4 from 8 is going to give me 4. Now, I cannot take 4 away from 1, so I'm going to have to take some from this place. And think of this like it's a 10 cents. If I take $1 away, I'm adding 10 cents, which is going to give me 11 of them. And this is going to become a 4. So 4 take away from 11. If that was confusing, there are a million different ways to look at how to borrow. And if you want to talk to me, just tell me, hey, I want to set up a private Zoom so we can figure out what is the way that makes most sense to me as far as how to remember how to borrow. Because it's more important to me that we find the right way for you. All right, 3 take away from the 5 is 2, and our answer is 2074. And that kind of makes sense because if I round these numbers to like 50 and 30, 30 take away from 50 is going to give me 20, okay? So I always should try to make sense of where I am in my math. Make a guess. All right, in this one I'm going to add some zeros here at the end. I'm going to go ahead and subtract these. So 0 take away from 2 is 2, and that's in my thousandths place. 0 take away from 0 is 0. 5 cannot take away from 0. So I'm going to borrow 1, and now I'm going to take away 5 from 10, which is going to give me a 5. Should have already dropped down my decimal, but I'm going to do it right now. 1 away from 6 gives me 5, and then 1 at the end. So the answer becomes 15.502. All right, we got a few more to do, 4 to be exact. That's not too bad, right? So let's do 58.24 minus 53.28. Don't need to add any zeros to this one. I am going to bring my decimal place down, and I'm going to start my hundredths place, which this one is going to go a little cross-eyed because I have to borrow from this too. And I really don't want to because that would make a perfect 0, but I have to follow the pattern. So if I borrow from this 2, I'm just going to have a 1, 14 here. And sometimes your mind will go to the 8 instead of to the 2 because you know it doesn't make sense. You don't want to do that, but you have to. That's the pattern. All right? So that's going to give me a 6. So that's a common mistake. All right, I'm going to take 1 from here, make that an 11, gives me a 9. 3 from 7 is 4, and 5 from 5 is 0. Don't have to write the 0 because it's in front, but I do have to write the zeros behind. All right, so it's 4.96. All right, so let's put our decimal in our answer, and let's do the hundredths place first. I'm going to have to borrow from this, making it a 2, and put a 1 with that. Right, that's going to be 7. 4 cannot go from 2, so I'm going to borrow 1 from this place and actually take 4 from 12, which is going to give me an 8. 7 can't be taken away from 1, so again I'm going to borrow, giving me a 4. So our answer is 14.87. Two more. I'm going to guess this answer is going to be around 5 because I'm essentially taking 30 away from 35, right? Maybe a little bit more than that, but we'll see. All right, 6 minus 6 is going to give me a 0. I can't take 8 away from 6, so let's borrow 1 from the 5. And it's going to be 8. 0 from 4 is 4, and 3 and 3 will make a 0. So just a little bit under 5. So I know that I probably didn't make any mistakes because my answer makes sense. Last one. All right, I can't take 9 away from 2, so I'm going to borrow 1 from the 1. All right, and that's going to be a 3. 6 can't take away from 0. Got to borrow 1 from that. 6 can come from 10, which will make a 4. And then I'm going to have to borrow 1 because 2 can't go from 1, but 2 can go from 11, giving me a 9. And then a 1 at the end. And that also makes sense, right? If you were to look at our beginning numbers, I would have guessed around 20. All right, so that's it for worksheet number 2. Keep working on these. If you have any questions, please just contact me and join me for worksheet number 3, worksheet 1-3.